Hi.
Hi. I want to hear your story, man. What was
Okay.
your childhood like? Where were you from?
Well, I have one of those. My childhood was great stories, and there's not really a reason why this happened.
Right.
I grew up in Dallas. My parents have been together my whole life. They barely drank in front of us our entire lives, like even through high school.
Yeah.
We watched them fight a lot, and I think we learned some like negative coping techniques from that, but I wouldn't say anything that like pushed me into trying to drink myself to death.
Are your parents still married?
Yes,
Okay,
they
cool.
are. Going on almost 40 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
That's
It's weird. They
so
haven't
good
killed
childhood.
each other.
Yeah.
Yes, good childhood. I dated like older boys, and that's how I started drinking
Right.
at 15. Looking back, though, I never drank normally. From the very first sip, it was Mike's Hard Lemonade, and I didn't stop at the 2, maybe 3 that got me drunk. I
Right.
drank all 6,
Yeah.
and I was 15, and I just thought that's how you do it.
Right. So it was like, what's like your first memory of like when you tried alcohol or?
I tried champagne when I was 11, and I thought it was disgusting, and I was upset. That changed by 15. I fit in. I was cool. Dating the older guys and being still the good girl.
Yeah.
In high school, like, you start finding ways to fit in, and that just made me belong. And
Right.
you don't feel like at the time that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're like, I wasn't trying to fit in. Looking back, that's all I was trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I belonged with something in my hand at that party with all the older people, and that's
Right.
just kind of what it became.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, so.
Lead me.
That's really easy to do. I feel like, especially when you're like at adolescent age, like, you have the people that you look up to, and you pretty much just follow what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think that's like the majority of us. That's how it starts.
Mm-hmm.
It starts off fun.
Mm-hmm.
So this is high school age, I guess, 15. Yeah, so
Mhm.
probably freshman year, right?
Mhm.
So you're kind of dating older dudes, you're going
Yeah.
to parties and stuff. How were you
Yeah.
as a student? Were you a good student?
Oh, I made straight A's all through high school.
Really? Even drinking?
Yes,
Oh,
I
cool.
did. I swear that I took my ACT still somewhat drunk, and that's what brought me to tech was
Yeah.
my scores.
Right.
But I mean, it didn't happen all the time, but we found ourselves like I was always prioritizing planning the parties and going to the parties, and
Right.
eventually we figured out, you can go with 3 of your girlfriends to a club downtown and just smile and they'll let you in.
Right.
In Dallas, 10 years ago, things were different. So drugs got introduced when I was like 16 and started taking ecstasy right off the bat.
Yeah.
So, but I don't think that affected anything. But my choices, like, those were not choices that I would have made back
Right.
then. And you could tell by the things I was starting to pick up on. Like, school wasn't affected at all, not till I got to college.
Right.
Yeah.
So you said you tried ecstasy when you were younger?
Yes.
Yeah. How old were you?
I was 15.
Hell yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It was the shit.
But I got it out of the way early because
Yeah.
I was kind of done with that when I got to
Really?
my 20s.
Yeah.
Because we got to do the real stuff, not Molly. It was ecstasy, so you got the whole come down, and
Yeah.
I didn't
A
need
lot of that shit
again.
back in the day, the tabs was like cut with meth, and so
Mhm.
like the come downs were like so
Dying.
rough. Yeah, just instant depression and like just want to fucking
Mhm.
die, and you're all stupid for a day. And
It was like instant lesson learned. Like, okay, I did that.
Yeah.
Done.
See, I didn't learn my lesson from that. I actually enjoyed that because it like gave me more of an excuse to like keep drinking or like
Yeah.
smoke more weed or whatever to like get
Yeah.
over it. But yeah, so I mean, so you're like going to the clubs and stuff, and then so fast forward a little bit, I guess you graduated high school, and then
Mhm.
you said you had good grades, and then planned to go to college and all that.
Yeah, I actually came to tech on a full ride for
Wow.
academics. Oh, I
Wow.
lost it in my freshman year. Really fast.
First year, the fall semester or spring semester?
Spring.
Oh, okay, well, you held it together for us semester.
They give you
so.
a chance.
Yeah.
But really, once I lost that scholarship, I kind of started realizing, like, I didn't have to perform
Right.
to be able to maintain and to do the whole college experience. And I didn't have to be like I was in high school. And
Right.
and I could just get by without studying and make the grade still.
Yeah.
And so I started going out
every night,
Thursdays, and then Mondays, and then Wednesdays, and it was just, it became every night. And
yeah.
I also, right off the bat, when I was a freshman, I started working at Cheddar's, worked there for like a year, but then I found the sports bars out here,
Right.
where you do make a lot of money.
Cujo's.
Yes.
And, yeah.
I worked at Caprock for 3 years, Nick's, and then Lake Ridge.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
long stints, but you have a lot of access to booze.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's kind of where it started to take off. Like, you serve it all night, and then you start planning, like, I'm taking 5 shots of Rumpel when I get off work, and
Yeah.
it's a Tuesday.
Dude, in service industry people, like, I feel they go so much harder than normal people.
Yes.
Because they start drinking later, and then, like, 6 a.m., they're, like,
Yeah.
where a normal person's like that at 3, like, they're at 6 a.m., they're, like, still, like, drinking or, like, fucked up or doing coke still or whatever. Like, service industry people go fucking hard.
Yeah, and I thought that was normal. I still did. Like,
Yeah.
my order out of the gate every time involved a Rumpel, no matter what I was doing. Because I
Right.
thought that was just normal. It's what I saw around me, the people I hung out with. It was what we were doing. It wasn't, I'd like to say it wasn't affecting me yet, but throughout my 20s, I have a bunch of popped tires, hit curbs,
Right.
bent rims, little things that never really got you in trouble, but...
Right. And, like,
I was
stuff you
drinking
could
and
play
driving.
off. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Things that you could explain to your parents 5 hours away that, I did whatever.
Yeah.
When really they probably know in the back of their mind I was drunk every single time. There was even a time period where I drove an Altima around town with no mirrors on the side. Because I hit each one on
All right.
separate instances, and
Yeah. Woke up in the morning and your fucking mirrors are gone. And
Well,
did you
and
remember? Or
I always remembered because,
yeah.
like I said, other drugs. I did a lot of cocaine, but honestly,
Right.
I think it was just so I could drink longer. Like,
Right.
because it did help me drink longer, and it sobered me
That's
up.
like, I feel like that's a pretty common addiction because, like, your body processes it different when they're in tandem,
Mm-hmm.
like turns into coke ethanol. And, like, it's a really quick, easy way to, like, get addicted really fast. Like,
Mm-hmm.
alcohol on its own, yeah, definitely cocaine on its own, but together, that's just, like, a gnarly combination.
Oh, yeah.
But
But it worked.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
It worked for a long time.
Yeah.
I even, from the amount of times I got pulled over throughout those years of where I'd like to still call them the good years, like
Yeah.
till about 26,
Right.
25. I should probably have 40 WIs.
Yeah.
That I can recall where I was pulled over and even patted on the back by a cop.
Right.
Twice that's happened. One time he followed me home, and then another time he allowed a friend to come get me. Not the same cop, but just
Right.
times where I was blackout drunk and should not have been driving.
Yeah.
And I came to when I was getting pulled over.
Oh.
Yeah, it was, and I hate saying that, but I feel comfortable saying it because
Yeah.
I know someone's going to hear this and be like, oh, cool. I did
done
that too.
And this person's an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that shit too. Like, there would be times on opiates where I'd come to and my car's just crawling down the highway and I'm fucking, like, been asleep for 5 minutes and I'm like, oh fuck, where am I?
And you're just fine though.
Yeah, it's terrible.
But we never took those moments as, I should stop this.
Yeah,
It was
it was just I got lucky, or
It's
it
like,
was
yes,
yeah,
checkpoint.
I beat it.
I made it.
Yeah, I'm a pro at this shit.
Right? In recovery, and they always talk about how God taps on your shoulder. He was like shaking me.
Right.
Like, stop it.
Yeah.
And all those little times of being tapped on the shoulder. But
So you said you lost your full ride your
yes,
freshman
Freshman
first
year.
spring semester.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, did you just stop going to class completely and like?
I got on financial aid.
Right.
Which did pay for almost all of my school. I do have some loans.
Oh, I meant,
oh.
what made you lose the full ride? Like just bad grades,
dude,
or
yeah, it was. The scholarship has changed since then. Now the requirement's a 3.0. It was a 3.5 back then, and I thought I wanted to be a dentist, so I was in bio and chem, and
right,
I mean, in college, I don't care what college you go to; those classes are hard.
right.
Like high school was a joke compared to those,
Oh,
and
for
I
sure.
I
Can we
just
pull that down just a little bit?
yeah.
please. Perfect.
I don't want to be seen.
And
and
that's a gnarly degree.
yeah,
A
and
lot of bio and chemistry, and that's
that's why I changed my major a few years after and realized I just don't care about this.
Right.
When I got to Dr. Deeney, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Mm-mm.
He writes questions for the MCAT, and he's a biology professor here at Tech, and he's like been in the New York Times for lawsuits from students, and he's won.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's
so
gnarly.
you take bio with him, and you realize really fast, I don't care about this.
Right.
I'm gonna drop this class.
Yeah.
So, anyways, where are we?
So you lose your full ride. Like,
Yes.
how did you explain it to your parents? I mean,
Golly, that was 10 years ago. They took it way better than you'd expect, but
Yeah.
I think they just accepted that they couldn't help me pay for school regardless.
right.
So it was kind of just, well, I hope you learn a lesson from this, and
Yeah.
I didn't. I needed to learn many more.
Right.
But they helped me get on financial aid and figure all of that out. I do still get to hear about that once in a while.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of
once in a
course.
while I get to hear about it.
I can't believe you would do that. I
Yeah.
understand.
Or when I bring up like my student loan payments, they're like, you'd have X less. Like, I'm aware. I'm the one making the payments.
All right. So, like, I mean, how did it continue after that? Was that a little bit of a wake up call, or did you just try to keep balancing your drinking and school, or?
The drinking, it still wasn't that bad. I mean, it slowly progressed over the years, and all those like things I talked about just kept happening, spread out enough to where they're not related, is what you think.
Right.
But no, I kept doing well in school. I switched my major to Spanish.
Yeah.
I say doing well. I was making B's.
Yeah.
I could have been making A's,
kinda
but I
flying
just,
under the radar.
whatever. Yeah. And I switched my major to Spanish because I had the most credits from high school for that.
Right.
So I was, taking the easy way out right there too. But I kept going to class, and it was probably till like my 4th or 5th year in school that I didn't even know this now, but I was having major anxiety related to the choices I've made, and I just started drinking more.
Yep.
I would, for probably 2 semesters straight, I would drive to class and just sit in the car.
Dude, I did the same shit.
And I just thought something was wrong with me.
Can't bring yourself to actually go into the classroom.
I didn't know that was anxiety.
Yeah.
I would get there early, and I'd just get out of the car, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And so I'd just go home and I'd start drinking, or I'd go find, someone's bartending during the day. I'll go wherever, because you just go visit your friends in the service industry. And that wasn't a bad thing to be drinking at noon on a Tuesday.
Right. And you in your head, you're like, it's fine. Like, I'll just go next time.
And I kept abusing my drop credits, like where you can fail a class, but it doesn't really hurt you.
Right.
And I used up all my drops. I used up all my fails. I somehow didn't get put on probation through all of that.
Really?
And I literally didn't go to class for 2 straight semesters. I went like the first 2 weeks and maybe the last week.
Did you at least show up for like exams and stuff? Or?
Sometimes I didn't.
Damn.
And I somehow did not get put on probation. I failed,
Yeah.
but I didn't get asked to leave the university.
Right.
Which was nice. But all of that kind of went on until I was about 25.
Yeah.
And it kind of came to a halt.
Right.
For like all kinds of stuff came together.
Yeah.
And I'd say that's when the addiction took off.
Yeah.
Like sprinting. How do I even go about?
Well, so you were in school this whole time, kind
Yeah.
of trying to balance it, and then, around 25, you say that it took off. I mean, looking back on it, what were the circumstances that led to that? Was it like a relationship?
Yes.
Okay.
I started dating a guy that I worked with who was 5 years younger than me. And it started out as I was just smoking more pot at first. And then, we were drinking all the time, and Some parts of it wasn't even the drinking. It was just the actions and the thoughts and what I was putting up with and allowing in my life. And I was working on the golf course, driving the booze around on the course, if you can imagine.
Yeah.
It's a ton of factors that just were, it was a dumpster fire, like waiting to go off. And, you know, I would drink all day at work on the days that I just felt like it. And it was fine for a while until it was not fine.
Right.
And me and the boyfriend started getting in physical altercations, and all the time that's probably what I'll tiptoe around, because I need to be safe about that.
Okay. Yeah. So this relationship kind of starts turning sour.
Yeah. So he is just like me. We both have our addictions. And instead of leaving a toxic relationship, we just fueled it in every way possible. I mean, violence, drugs, police, broken phones, broken everything, aside from like broken bones.
Right.
But I do have some stuff left physically from that relationship.
Right.
And
was it one-sided? Was it like both of you physically kind of?
It was at first. It would be when I came home and I was clearly like, I had been drinking, and he would use that as excuses to just rip my phone away from me and try to go through it. And he broke a few of my phones.
Fuck. And
and after that happening, I started fighting back. Like, you know, not to say that any of it was deserved or that I should have, but that's not how I wanted to be in life in general. But at the time it made sense, and we called the cops on each other all the time, and we would get each other kicked out of the house. And I probably packed up and left that house 3 or 4 times, like different apartments that we shared, just to go right back. And heck, his mom is in the program.
Oh.
And that's kind of how this got introduced to me, because honestly, I could have still been out drinking if I never got the "you're an alcoholic and you need help" sprouted in my mind.
Was she saying that to both of you?
He said it to me.
So
he said it to
grew
me.
Up around it.
He grew up going to meetings, all kinds of stuff, and
it's almost worse. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
But when somebody knows the shit, but they're not living it, and then they're like trying to use it against you.
Right.
And,
He was younger, and I get he was in a different spot, but he would go on, 12+ hour long binges of disappearing to go do a bunch of blow. And I would be up looking on the jail roster, calling hospitals, trying to find him. And it's like that started becoming our life every like 3 or 4 days. Was that stuff happening. And I would
something super traumatic.
Yes, and I would explode, and then I would forget about it. I wouldn't forget, but I wouldn't drink for a few days, sit in my shame of whatever happened, whether the cops had to come or something.
Did either of y'all ever go to jail over it?
I went to jail, and that was the last day I ever had alcohol in my system.
So we'll get there.
It's okay.
So, I mean, toxic relationships are really hard, and like that was a big part of my addiction too. Is I was with the wrong person for a long time, and it wasn't so much like we were physically. I mean, it got physical a couple of times. I never hit her, but she would start to hit me, and I've definitely deserved it, because I would lie to her, steal from her. But it's like there's this weird, especially if you've been together for X amount of time, like you have this. You were attracted to that person to begin with. Like you find something that you really love about them, and then you're so desperate for something positive in your life, and you think that like this is my person, this is who I love, and like you can't see past the toxic like characteristics, character defects, all that stuff, and you take it out on each other. Like the fact that you subconsciously that you're not supposed to be in that relationship, but you can't bear to be alone.
No.
And so you take it out on each other, and it's a vicious cycle. And like even after I got sober and I got out of that relationship, it was still like it fucked up a whole nother relationship after that, because I still wasn't over her, And so I definitely understand like it's a weird dynamic, because you're like so desperate when you're in your addiction, and like you want to feel something good, and that person has been that for you before in the beginning, and you just latch on to that memory of that feeling,
Yes. Kind of like your first high or drunk.
Oh, yeah.
It's like
Very
you're chasing
much so.
the same thing.
Yeah.
That's what my counselor told me at treatment, that because I just sat there and told her, like, I know that I shouldn't have been with him. And it's not even about him as a person. It's about who I was.
Right.
You
and
know,
what you knew that you needed and deserved.
And how, and also how he didn't treat me right, so I treated him wrong too.
Right.
And I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
Like, looking back in it makes so much sense. And you're just, it's like you're trying to get the upper hand without letting go of them.
Yeah.
And looking back, it's like, why did I ever want an upper hand with someone that I thought I loved?
Yep. That's like just typical toxic relationship stuff is like, instead of like acting out of love, you act out of resent or hate, or not, you don't even really realize it's hate, but like you dislike that person so much that like everything you do, even just like trying to be normal is like out of resentment. It's hard.
And it's a reflection back of yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Too. That's what you're picking out of them, like some part of it.
It's like part, projecting, and like part like, repression, because like you're trying to like keep the mirage up that like you still love them, and like trying to make it work. And especially if you're living together, like that's a whole nother fucking layer to it. You have your lives like tied up together. It's rough.
Yeah.
But so how long were y'all together, like in total?
2.5 years.
Oh, that's plenty enough time.
Yeah, it was. And we lived with my sister for part of that time,
Right.
and we ended up breaking a bunch of her stuff.
Yeah.
When we lived with her, and then it just kind of carried over. Like, he stayed the night one night and never left. Which, that's kind of how it goes when you're at that stage in life.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have the conversation. You just, I don't want to be alone. Don't leave. But we did that for 2.5 years. And towards the last 6 months is when he kind of introduced you're an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah.
And
in your face.
Of course I got mad. Like, I'm just pissed off. But I knew what AA was. I just knew it existed. I did not really know much about it. I, of course, had the preservation that it's the homeless guy under the bridge. It could never be me. I'm way too young. All kinds of stuff.
I didn't even really know about any 12-step stuff. A little bit because my dad had been through the program, but I didn't really know that. I knew it as an abstract concept, and like what you see in like films or television, but it's like
they don't do it right.
Yeah, they make it look so bad. They make it look like the worst thing ever. Nobody's depressed and like suicidal, and it's like every meeting I'm at, we were all like laughing for part of it. Like,
I love that show, Mom. I think it's hilarious, but their representation of the meetings is awful.
I think I know. It's like the mom and daughter both in AA. I've
Anna
seen
Faris and
I've seen a couple episodes.
It's hilarious.
So I mean, you said towards the last 6 months. Like, was there any times that when you called the cops that he got sent to jail? Or?
No, I actually got asked to leave our apartment every time I called the cops.
Really?
On him. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And he put his hands on me, and that's why I called. And I always like reiterate that. When he called on me, I went to jail, and that saved my life. Yeah, it did. But we'll get there. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff with that.
That's so weird. How are you the one that gets asked to leave?
I was drunk.
Oh, and he was
every time
less drunk.
I had been drinking on the golf course all day.
Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
did you ever get caught like being drunk at work?
Oh, they knew, but I pulled in so much money for that club.
Yeah.
I don't think they cared.
Yeah.
As sad as that sounds,
it's pretty sick.
But I also doing cocaine a lot, you know,
just to keep up with it.
You couldn't really tell half the time. I was great with that poker face, and I really don't think they cared that I was drinking.
Because I mean, that's all like tips, and then like you're kind of convincing people who are playing to keep drinking and stuff, right? So it's really just kind of,
especially if the cart girl's gonna take a shot with you,
right? Yeah.
Who's not gonna drink?
That's funny. Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I met the boyfriend too. So
really?
He would, if he was working, we'd all be drinking down.
Oh, he worked at Lake Ridge too.
Yes, we'd all be drinking down in the cart barn, and you know, that fueled a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And there's like nobody who plays golf at night. It's all during the day.
and free booze
Yeah.
is just dangerous for anybody that has no limit.
Oh, that's like me, like having free heroin. Like,
Yeah, when I went to treatment and whatnot, and they tried to convince me to go to sober living and told me it was the house 2 holes away from the cart barn at Lake Ridge, I said, this is God testing me already. I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Because I didn't trust myself.
Right. So like every time that the cops came and you got asked to leave, like would you leave and just go stay with a friend? Or?
I'd go like stay at my sister's or my best friend's,
Right.
and then I would go back a few days later.
Yeah.
When we just forgot about it or whatever.
And I mean, so at this point, would you say that how when the relationship started, where were you at with your addiction? Were you like drinking every day when it started, or
no?
Not yet.
I wasn't.
Did that kind of come towards that last 6 months of the relationship?
I think it was just steady progression over those 2.5 years.
Yeah.
You know, it started as we'd go drink all the time together because of our job. We'd get off work and go finish drinking somewhere. And then over time, it became like I'm trying to hide it.
Yeah.
You know, because he got a different job. He started selling cars. So I was at work drinking all day.
Yeah.
But I think it was just a steady progression up until those last 6 months where that was the point that I would literally go to work and I'd say to myself, you're not doing this today. And by 10:30, 11 a.m., I'd have a Fireball bottle upside down and I'd be crying.
Yeah.
Wondering why I can't stop. Why? Or I'd just be like, you're not doing this tomorrow. You're not. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't quit.
Yeah.
Even then I couldn't see how I had a problem. Like my parents had suggested maybe you should slow down. They've suggested that over the years, you know, every time something would happen, they'd kind of bring it up and gently put it across the table. Like, maybe this is what you should do.
Right.
And I'd just shove it on back. Like, no, that's the furthest thing from my problem. But then at the last 6 months, I tried to stop drinking. And sometimes I would make it a few days, I think, out of pure shame and not wanting to leave the house.
Yeah.
But it led up to Memorial Weekend. I was house sitting for a golfer and more free booze.
Yeah.
But it's expensive booze. And drinking all day. It was a Sunday. And I don't really know how it transpired, but things led to the boyfriend being at the apartment and we were fighting and he telling me he's going to throw all my stuff off the balcony.
Yeah.
This has happened so many times before. Nothing ever has happened to my stuff.
Right.
But of course, I'm like, I'm going over there. Well, I went over there with a knife.
Oh, shit.
Yes,
Drunk
I did.
with a knife.
Yes, I did. My original intention was to just cut all his
Scan.
tires.
Oh, fuck.
It really was. That made sense in my head.
Yeah.
It did.
I'll show him.
I was like, I'll go get my stuff and then bang.
Yeah.
Well, I get up there and he's not doing anything to my stuff, of course. Like, I should have known better.
Yeah.
And it gets to where he's not letting me leave. So I point a knife at him.
Yeah.
And I always think about if I was a little drunker, what would I have really done?
Yeah.
I always wonder that because, I mean, I wasn't just like holding it. I mean, I was ready to use it. Some part of me was ready to do that. And Steve Medley still, if I run into him to this day, he's like, isn't it funny that pointing a knife at somebody saved your life? I was like, yeah, and not in the way that you would think.
Yeah.
So he called the cops and they came and got me. Luckily for me, I threw the knife and they never found it. Because that would have been way worse if they actually found it. Because when I went to jail, have you been to jail?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
so
I have
that long arrest record.
I just don't want to ever assume.
No, I appreciate that. Most people are just like, how many times have you been to jail?
Like,
less than 10, more than 5, something like that. I don't remember.
Handful. Better part of a decade.
Yeah.
So when I got there, they, I guess, pull up on your record, like they see how many times I called the police on him.
Right.
and they strip you down, and they saw I was covered in bruises.
Oh.
Nothing ever came of that arrest.
Right.
I didn't even do probation or anything, but I was arrested on aggravated assault.
Really?
Yes.
That's good. That's a gnarly charge.
I had the worst charges in the room when we saw the judge, and I just wanted to be like, I'm not more of a badass than any of y'all. I promise.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's a mandatory 48-hour hold
Yeah.
in Texas. So I was in there for 3 days.
And a lot of times, like, the prosecutor will just pick it up. Like, sometimes
Yes.
even if the person drops the charges, the state will pick it up.
Afraid of that, but he had no marks on him,
Right.
nothing. I
There's
didn't
no
touch
actual evidence.
I didn't touch him.
It wasn't a real case.
And he also knows some people in higher places, and he made some phone calls to some church people that, hey, this didn't really happen. Is there anything you can do? But
That's good.
while I was in jail, my sister, I talked to her probably like the next day when I was sober, and she said, I think it's time for some rehab. And I'd never been suggested that, nothing. And that was the easiest yes I've ever said in my life. And she reminds me to this day that I said, I never want to feel like this again. I didn't say I never want to be here again. And I was in jail. Like, I was in the same pod as that chick that just got sent up for all the fentanyl. I was in her pod. I think Jessica.
Something.
Yes,
I know you're talking about.
and there were some scary people in there.
Yeah.
Like, I was in with the scary people.
Yeah.
But I was just, all I remembered is I don't want to feel this way again. And my sister called a few rehabs, pretended to be me on the phone, got me into a few places, and she let me pick. We were going to go to, there's an all-women's facility in Boerne, Texas. Looks beautiful. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But we found out driving there that they didn't take my insurance. So I called Springboard in Midland because Dovetree just didn't feel right.
Right.
Plus, it was a little more expensive, but
it's not cheap.
I didn't need to be here. I needed to be away.
Yeah, that's what I did. I went to treatment elsewhere because I just needed to get out.
Oh, yeah, you went to California.
Yeah,
Bastard.
I know. Spoiled.
So I ended up talking to one of the directors at Springboard on the phone for like 2.5 minutes. And I looked at my sister and I said, turn around. I need to go there.
Yeah.
Because of the conversation we had. And I don't even remember what it was. I think Darth Vader was involved. But, went there for 30 days.
Yeah.
It was the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I will advocate for that place till the day I die.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, ask.
Oh, well, we didn't really talk about your relationship with your sister. Are you the older sister?
I'm older.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And your younger sister helped you. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are y'all still pretty close?
Very.
How far apart are y'all?
2 years.
Okay, cool.
And, I mean, we're...
2 to 3 years is like the perfect age gap.
Oh,
I
it
feel.
is.
Me and my brother are 3 years apart. And
It is. Because we don't have the same friends, but
right.
we can
But you're
still
like
relate.
close enough in age to like, grew up with the same stuff,
Uh-huh.
have the same likes and dislikes for the most part. But that's cool.
They're not annoying.
Yeah. They are when you're like little, but like once y'all get in high school, like they're cool enough to bring along with stuff and party with. And
Oh yeah. And up to now, like, we're kind of distant at the moment, but
right.
like I told you before, she's trying to find her own way down this same path.
Yeah. It's hard, and not everybody who sees somebody close to them go through it like immediately understands it or gets it. Sometimes they have to figure it out for their own
or
self,
believe that they could possibly be touched by the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. That's her.
Right.
That's her problem.
Yeah.
And
so what was your relationship with your parents during the whole relationship with your boyfriend at the time?
My parents, they knew that they couldn't insert themselves.
Right.
That we had to figure this out on our own because, my parents married young, being married almost 40 years.
Yeah.
They had to go through a lot of this stuff too. Maybe not the same way, but just a lot of things where, I would call my parents at 2 a.m, just emotionally drunk, ranting and raving. I probably, for a year, I would call and do something. Just call and cry or yell about something, and they'd try to calm me down. And I would even call and tell them I'm going to kill myself because I was so drunk and distraught, and just, those were the thoughts I was having. And I didn't realize how like terrorizing that is.
Yeah.
Looking on the outside. Oh my God.
A lot of people get those calls, and that's the last time they hear from them.
I know. And I understand why they answered them all, but then they stopped. And it was towards the very end. It was like the last 2 months they put their foot down. They were not answering those calls anymore. If it was after like 10 p.m., forget about it. Yeah. Sorry. I put my parents through hell, but they never stopped answering like during the day and when I needed them, and they never stopped supporting me and telling me how much they love me. And
well, and it's hard too, the parents, because like at a certain point you're enabling, and like everybody knows that, and parents know that, and it's just as hard for them too, you know, like that's like, you know, when you go through treatment, everything, family system type stuff is like, you know, family week and all that. Like it's important because like not only did you go through it, but they all saw you go through it, and they all are trying to like, you know, cope with their own, you know, perspective of it.
And they're just as sick in their own way.
Right.
And like right now with my sister going down the path too, I've had to, my parents, it's been a few years since I did this, but I've had to remind my dad, and it's heartbreaking for him, but you can't take her calls anymore. Yeah. Not while she's being like this. If she's asking for help, take the calls, of course. But if she's already drinking and just being crazy and she doesn't need a ride, stop answering the phone. And he just, but why? And I said, Dad, y'all didn't help me until you left home. Like that spoke to me way more than any words y'all said and put together through all that time trying to get me to see or listen. It was the silence that answered for me, because I was so used to them just being right there, and they're 5 hours away, so they're going to take whatever I say at face value. Like
trust you still.
Not your boyfriend. And God. Yeah.
And it sucks too, because like, you know, when you're addicted, like you use all those relationships up, you know, to a certain extent, you know, and like with me and my family, like I completely like used my family, stole from them, like did all kinds of, you know, scheming and scamming and all the shit, you know, and it's hard. And it's like, so I mean, how's your relationship with them now? I mean,
it's great.
Right.
It's great.
Isn't it like, I mean, are they amazed by it all? I mean,
And I don't feel I made the greatest amends to them. I always think about that, but
I feel the same
after
way.
everything I did, I don't think a word out of my mouth matters.
Yeah.
Like I've said I'm sorry so many times, or I apologize, or whatever.
Literally, words don't mean shit. Like, you just have to live. Like, your parents are the biggest living amends, you know. Like, and you just have to give it time. And,
and I told my dad this past weekend while I was home, and we were discussing all this, and I said, you know, Dad, I need you to realize that I've been sober every single day since that happened, because that is one of the only ways I can say sorry to everybody and to myself. But you know, it's not like you can go buy something for them. You're like, this is for all the crap you put, unless it's a house.
Yeah, I mean, like, literally the best thing you can do is like get better.
Yeah,
you know?
and stay there.
Yeah. So, I mean, whatever happened to the guy you were with?
He is now sober.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty
sure. Did he get
sure.
sober here?
Yes.
Oh, do you ever see him in meetings or anything?
Once in a while.
Really?
He had to go. I shouldn't be sharing other people's stuff, but no one knows who he is. Yeah. He had to go to rehab 3 times after, and his stuff progressed, and it went to a really scary spot with the drugs that I never thought he would touch in his life. Right. But maybe that's where he needed to go. Yeah. But, you know, I'll never look at those 2.5 years as wasted. Like, even though they were wasted, he introduced me to AA. Somehow it got into my life. And I see his mom all the time too. And, you know, she's great. Yeah. She likes me now.
Do you see her in the rooms here?
Yeah. She did not like me then.
That's wild.
She likes me now. Good. And I'm like, I just needed some help. Yeah. I needed a swift kick in the ass.
It's funny because, like, you know, I've lived here 8 years. My addiction was here. It's cool that yours was too. I find it really unique when I meet people who their addiction and their recovery are in the same place, you know, because a lot of people get shipped in here to go to the school or go to the center and stuff after getting sober. But like, there's like a few of us who had our addictions here and like got sober here. And like, it's like we see like two different sides of like the people here. You know what I mean? Like I hear stuff from normal people that like aren't in the rooms about people who are in the rooms and vice versa, and it's weird, you know, like it's just funny. Like you stay here long enough and you realize like, yeah, Lubbock's like a, you know, city, but it's like a pretty small town. You know,
and getting sober here in Lubbock, we had our lives here before. Like, we didn't get transplanted here for treatment. Sometimes I have a hard... I know we're not supposed to explain ourselves to anybody, but I have a hard time, I guess, hanging out with the recovery community sometimes because they want to go to all these places that I've been blackout, shit-faced drunk, and I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I get that.
Like...
I'm not that way about places, but I am that way about certain people. Like, I mean, there's only like a couple of people that have been in my life through all of that, you know, like my bass player Tanner, like he like literally picked me up from getting kicked out of my girlfriend's house, like, cause I stole her fucking debit card again. And like, you know, again, or stole her car to go get crack in the fucking middle of the night or whatever. But like, but I get that though. Like you know, when I first got back and the first show I played at Jake's, I was like, dude, the last time I was here, I was shooting up in the bathroom, you know. I'm like, and I play there all the time now. Yeah. It's not a big deal, but it's weird. Like, it's a weird dynamic, you know. Like you have like memories of being in those places and like the wrong mindset, and so I totally get that.
Like, it's not like I'm afraid to go there, but it's some places that I'm just, you know, I need to be ready. Like, Blue Light is somewhere I went finally, and Blue Light was my place. And I finally feel like I can go there and be comfortable.
Right.
I'm not afraid of drinking again. I don't want to say like, I've got this, I'm never going to touch alcohol again, but I have no interest in it. Right. But I don't even want to say I don't want to give people the wrong impression.
I get what you're saying, though.
You know, it's like I'm trying to dance around what I'm trying to say.
I think that we get to that point after a couple years, and like, yeah, you should always be wary of it, and like, yeah, you should always be like ready and willing to, like, you know, defend yourself against your alcoholic brain. You know, like I totally get that. But like in your early recovery, when it's literally like day by day, and like you just like kind of got to get through all this like pain and emotional trauma that I'm dealing with to stay sober, like you know, like after a couple years, like that kind of goes away, and it's just like, this is who I am now. Yeah, you know, like that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like you know, a big part of like me doing this is like because I feel like I can help more people this way, like getting people's message out there and their story and stuff, you know. And but I totally get that, you know. But I do also understand why people are like, be careful of that, because I've heard the same stuff from people, and then a month later they're drinking again.
Well, you know, I have this irrational fear that out of habit I'm just gonna pick it up and then be like, what the fuck I know that's not gonna happen. That's part of those crazy fears. But also, I don't know if you get this still, but I still occasionally have people that are like, oh, are you still not drinking? Yeah, I'm not. And
normal people don't get it.
No, they don't.
They
and
think
it's
you're
fine.
Just taking a long break.
And it's okay. Or I run into a lot of friends that I used to drink with. Now we run into each other. Hey, it's so good to see you. And they always have to bring up how they're drinking less. Yeah. And I'm like, that's great, but I don't give a shit, because you're not reaching out to me and inviting me anywhere if you're drinking so much less, or even if you aren't. Like, it's
a
weird.
lot of people, like, you know, they say that kind of stuff to make themselves feel better, you know?
Because they're looking in a mirror and they drank right with you or did whatever with you, and and they see themselves. But I felt like I had one more thing to say about going out, and now I don't remember.
You said that it's hard for you to go to places that you've been to before.
Yeah, and it's not even... They do trigger me. They really do. Yeah. Because
I feel for alcoholics, that. Like,
I hate it.
Shit's everywhere.
And you smell it everywhere. And, oh my God, I didn't realize how bad of a liar I was, because I work at the gym now part-time. Someone can open the front door, you know, 50 feet away from me, and I know what they drank last night. Yes.
You're a bloodhound.
Oh God, I'm just like vodka. But now I'm like, God, I was such a bad liar. I would like drink half a bottle of Fireball and go home and be like, I haven't been drinking.
Yeah.
Like, you smell horrible.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's so easy to. And like I could never smell weed on people like back in the day, like because I always smelled like weed, you know. But like I'll like walk by somebody in a store or something, like, damn, dude, you smell like a fucking skunk, you know.
Golly.
You catch on to that kind of stuff, like, and like so much more when you're sober. Like I saw a store clerk the other day that was like obviously on opiates, you know, maybe not heroin, but like on oxy or something, like. And I was just like, that's crazy to me that I could pick up on it, you know, when I never could have done that before. You know, I was just too high or too fucked up to like think about that kind of shit.
I just thought I was pulling one over on everybody.
Yeah. I think you're
God,
slick.
you're an idiot. I can't believe cops let me do that.
Oh,
That's what bothers me.
Yeah.
I'm happy that I don't have DWIs, but
I had
Lord.
a couple times where cops were cool with me. You know, never in my hometown. They're terrible there. But here...
Snyder, right?
Yeah, Snyder is terrible. But here, like, especially if you're college age, like, they kind of want to give you a break. And, like, they have worse shit to deal with, you know?
Yes.
Like, but,
they've been there. They don't want the paperwork.
Yeah. So, I mean, did you ever, like, finish college?
No.
Yeah?
No. So, okay.
Doesn't matter if you did or didn't.
My last semester, which is the semester I ended up going to treatment.
Right.
I messed some things up and decided I wasn't ready to graduate. So I went to South Plains.
Really?
And I only had 12 hours left of school total.
Dang.
And I decided to go do a filler at South Plains. Not like those credits could transfer or anything.
Really?
I just, yeah.
I thought mostly everything transferred.
Your last 30 hours have to be on campus, have to be in Texas Tech. So I did that. I get out of treatment. I never finished that semester. I have a transcript from South Plains that says I completed no hours.
Hey, I went to South Plains for 3 years, and when I started at Tech, I had 1 credit hour transfer
Oh my God.
out of like a potential like 30 something. Like.
Well, so since then I've owed South Plains $5,000 because when you use your financial aid and you don't go to class, they want it back.
Oh yeah, of course.
So every semester, the past 5 semesters that have gone by, I have thought we were going to be able to get me back into school, and then things just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And it's like the money was there, and then the money went away, and I have thought I'm ready to go back to school, and God is telling me otherwise. Like, you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. I mean. So I get to go in January and finish my degree.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Finally.
Have you applied to the center?
No, I should.
You should.
I need to. Even though it's my last semester. Or I'll have to do, I think, one in like a summer semester.
Scholarship.
It'll pay for my books.
Yeah. I mean, literally. I mean, and I think the deadline for next fall is like March something. March 30th or something like that.
Well, maybe. I'm going in January.
Oh, so yeah, you already missed the deadline.
That's okay.
I think it's the end of this month. But yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'm proud of you, man. That's awesome.
Still might go like, the whole thing that's kept me out of school is Texas Tech wants my empty transcript from South Plains. Yeah. Even though they know there's nothing on it. They're like, we have to, it's procedure. We just have to. I'm like, I get it. It's just me trying to find another loophole.
Yeah.
But I'm learning I don't get to take loopholes anymore. Like, I have to do things the right way. But I finally get to finish school.
It's awesome.
I got this job.
Yeah. 2 jobs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the insurance job is just a dream. I get 2 reactions. I get, oh, you're doing insurance. And then I get, how did you get that job? Because they've applied and they have degrees and they know how good this company is.
I think I actually applied to New York Life at one point, but when I was like super strung out.
And all the gifts are finally like, not like they haven't been coming the whole time, but now they're like being tossed at my head and I don't know how to catch them.
Right. It's awesome.
So now
you're
I'm
like
in
2
that
years sober, right?
Yeah, cool. Almost 2.5.
Okay,
and
cool.
No one tells you how hard it is right now.
Yeah. Like at the second year?
Yes.
Mark? Yeah.
Just nothing to do with drinking. Just
like life.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm just relearning, like re-hard setting. What's that meme about? 2019 is about re-hard setting my whole life And I thought sobriety did that for me, but this is just different.
I've spent like the last, almost 3 years, like not only trying to work on like being sober, but like fixing all the other bad habits I have. Like,
yes.
you know, like I gained a lot of weight when I got sober. Like I had terrible diet, terrible like financial habits. Like it's not over once you get sober. Like you get, that's the first part of it, you know, but you get a couple years in and like now you have all this other stuff that like if you don't really work on it and fix it, like it could lead right back to it. You know, a lot of people after the first year, I think like with, you know, around the first year, a lot of people relapse is pretty high. You know, but I think after like 3 to 4 years, most people stay sober for very long periods of time. But
I had like 4 people close to me relapse within the last month too. Yeah. I was telling one of our friends, like, I just don't know what to do. It's not happening to me, but it's happening around me.
Yep.
And
me too. I mean, 2 of my best friends in recovery that were my roommates in sober living for a whole, you know, over a year. You know, they're drinking now, and like they're okay. They're not like, you know, dying or anything, but like it is like disheartening a little bit. Not so much like, oh, I wish I could drink, but it's just like, damn, like I thought we were in this together, and I thought that we we're all getting better, you know.
And some of the greatest advice I got the first year of sobriety, because I used to drive back to alumni meetings in Midland. Yeah. I just thought, oh, I want to be here with everybody.
See, that's cool. I wish I could do that, but I gotta go to California.
I'll be back, guys.
Yeah. I want to go back to treatment just so I can have an alumni meeting.
And someone there told me that you don't always have to hang on to who you got sober with. Sometimes that's all they were there for.
Right.
And that is so hard to grab onto. It is so hard. Because you all got the same information. Yeah. You all experienced the same crap. You all, everyone felt some kind of like spiritual experience of some sort. Right. Because I think being able to stay sober for a long time is some kind of spiritual experience in itself.
For sure, regardless of what you believe in.
Yeah. Like, I mean, for me, walking into Springboard, all the girls were at a meeting, so it was only guys when I walked into the group, and I recognized like half of the room. Yeah. But I'd never met any of them in my life. Yeah. I'd been dreaming about these people.
Wow.
Half of my grandma's side of the family all has really weird dreams, and I've always thought it was some voodoo crap that is made up, but I have those dreams too. Yeah. And my roommates were an Erica. My younger sister is Erica. Mm-hmm. Erica had a son with my birthday, and then my other roommate was Kathy, and my mom's sister is Kathy. Next roommate, Nancy, my grandma's name. Next roommate, Lisa, my mom's other sister. And I was like, okay,
that's weird.
I get it. I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah, that's weird.
It was really weird. Yeah. And then Gina was my last roommate.
Did you have weird dreams when you were in treatment?
I didn't have any dreams in treatment.
Really?
No, but after, I had quite a few where I'd wake up and I thought I was drinking. Yeah. But it was so outlandish.
These dreams are the worst.
Like you're drinking tequila with your great grandmother, who's probably never had tequila, but those were the dreams that I was having. Like, I'd wake up so panicked, but then realize that was really irrational and it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. I remember like my second day in detox, I had this dream that I was shooting up in this like old lady's house, and I was like hiding from her. Like she didn't know I was there. And I was in the attic, like living up there shooting up. And like I was like, had the needle in my arm, and she poked her head through the attic, and then she said, "Daniel?" And I woke up, and it was the tech like waking me up. And it like synced up perfectly. It was the weirdest fucking thing ever.
I'm glad you weren't trying to like creep around and hide in detox.
Yeah, I know. I just woke up to the tech being like this, you know, big bear of a gay dude, super sweet guy, like just being like, "Daniel," and like it was in the dream, it was her voice, like, and it was.
Yes, Grandma.
Do you dream a lot now?
I do.
Me too.
My dreams are normal again.
Yeah.
And normal for me is I have deja vu dreams.
Right.
And
like deja vu, like where you dreamed it and you woke up and it was something you experienced, or like you catch yourself.
I catch myself when it's happening.
It's so weird.
Mid-conversations. Like, you told me about this already, and they're like, it happened 20 minutes ago.
Dude, I've done the same thing too, like you said, like I mean, treatment's a little different with roommates and everything, but like, I will meet somebody and I'd be like, dude, I've met you before, swear to God. And then I realized like I had a dream about it or something. It's weird.
And I think this might be too cliche. I don't care. But, you know, they say that most people that abuse drugs and alcohol are very intelligent people.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're trying to dull out something.
People. I met some brilliant tweakers who can like fix any engine.
And I think when I hear, like when you tell me about meeting people like that, I don't think that's far-fetched. I've met a lot of people like this in recovery where we just have something different about us.
Yeah.
Not just being smart, but just something different where we don't belong. And maybe it's like a subconscious, like, I need to make this go away.
Right.
Like, where I wish we could just harness it in and
Yeah.
we'll all be magical and go back to pre-drugs and see what we could do.
Right. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, where are you at? What's like the thing that you struggle with today? Like I heard you say that like you didn't realize you had anxiety until you got sober.
Oh my God.
Is that like a big thing that you like have had to work on getting better at? Like,
I think the anxiety, a lot of it went away when I got sober.
Right.
Because learning that you never had to fit in. And if you have to fit in, I don't want to be there.
Right.
That's
it's not the right place to be anyways.
Yeah. And just building my confidence back up. And honestly, I am one of those that replaced my drinking with the gym. I did. Yeah. And that has changed everything for me. Because that's something I chased in my 20s.
Right.
That's another place that I would drive and sit in the parking lot and just like, I'll go in tomorrow. And I was an athlete my whole life. That's what I don't understand.
Right.
Like, I just let go of all those things. And, you know, it's amazing the front seat that drinking really took. Like, sometimes I don't think it did. And then sitting here and just talking about things like, golly.
Priorities get totally screwed up.
They trashed.
Yeah. Like, my thing was, like, I was depressed because I had, like, the musical goals I was working towards kind of fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
But then it was like I was like using because I was depressed that I wasn't playing music, but I wasn't playing music because I was using, and it was like, you know, it didn't
counterproductive.
Didn't make any sense.
No.
You know? But in my mind I was just like, oh, woe is me. You know?
I'm so sad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do these drugs and I'll feel better.
Literally.
Like, oh, we were such victims, and just realizing how selfish of a little brat I was.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Today, though, I think working on loving people where they're at.
Yeah.
It is really hard.
Right.
And this might sound like something shallow, but I don't really know how else to say it. Interacting with people that haven't woken up.
Yeah.
Like your friends or family. Like,
oh yeah, it's hard.
They haven't had the awakening. Or I hate saying that, but it's true. I've been through it. You've been through it. And you have a different lens on life, and just learning that people project everything and nothing is personal. Yeah. You know, just trying to guide friends through that without like, how do you not get this? Like, you know, loving people where they're at. It's really hard. Mm-hmm. And I didn't understand what that meant when they talked about it in treatment and IOP and whatever. You have to love people where they're at. Yeah. I totally get it now. And it's hard.
It's very hard. Like, especially because like you can't give anybody like what you had to learn through hard, you know, like hard times and like bad decisions. Mm-hmm. Like, and you know, in one sense, like I feel really grateful, and I'm sure you do too, that like it got so bad that like now it's pretty easy for me to stay sober because I know how fucking terrible it got.
Oh yeah.
And some people it never gets that bad for. Like they can just drink most nights, you know, and like get really fucked up a lot, but like maintain enough to where they're like just miserable enough to like cope and use drugs and alcohol.
And they don't say anything to ruin relationships. Out loud.
It's almost worse because like, you know, now like when you get sober and keep it for a while, like you have this, you know, gratitude about like just a small shit. Like I remember like the first summer that I was like living and sober living and working, doing landscaping, I'd come home in the heat of August that first summer and the AC was blowing cold. Oh yeah. And I would just be like thankful that like I had like the bills were paid and the AC was on, and like, you know, and then, like I never had any kind of gratitude for little shit like that before.
I had none. Hell, I would say that I knew what it was, and I don't. I didn't.
You didn't know what it felt like.
No, like I've been in West Texas for 10 years, and it took me going to treatment in Midland to appreciate these sunsets.
Oh yeah,
so like
part about this
now
place.
I'm just like pissed if I missed it. I'm like, no, damn. But something that small, like I did struggle with the God concept, getting back into sobriety. I think the church was a big part of straying me away. So I went through a little phase of I'm an atheist and God's not real, and he sure did like come busting through the door like the Kool-Aid man in my life.
Right.
Like, boom, I'm here. Crap. Where was I going?
the God thing. You struggle with the God
Oh,
thing.
yeah. Okay. But when someone in treatment said, did you make the sunset? I was like, no, that's so stupid. But that's really, those little things started putting it together for me.
Right.
That he's real and he's been here the whole time and he never left me.
Right.
All those times that I was messing up and I never really got in trouble. And,
Yeah.
and
Oh, dude, there's a lot of us. I mean, almost all of us have like, near-death experiences that we probably don't even realize that we had. You know
No.
what I mean? Like
quite a
the amount
few.
of times we got behind the wheel, fucked up, and I
Mhm.
mean,
Because you hear about people dying from less.
oh, dude, like when all the people were dying from fentanyl here, like I was
Oh my-
shooting fentanyl too.
That, yeah,
I didn't
that
die.
could have
Like,
easily
yeah,
just
it's,
night.
yeah, and we don't even realize that, and like we really still, you can think about it, kind of talk about it like we are now, but like you can't really feel that, how probably close we were to death at certain points,
No.
So I mean, yeah, I definitely, it's weird, like I went to a Christian treatment and I got out. I was like trying to be super Christian, and like now I'm kind of like, we're to this point where I'm like don't really practice any like religious aspects, but I definitely like have a relationship with like a higher power. It's more personal and tangible than like it ever was before, and it just doesn't look the way that it did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But
I tell people it's mine and only I have to understand it.
right.
And, I get met with the questions of how can you prove whatever. I'm like, how can you prove he's not?
Yeah.
And I call him God. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I've grown up knowing, but I don't practice any religion either. I mean, I grew up Church of Christ,
Right.
which is a certain way.
Oh yeah. No instruments and
If you're not wearing hose, you're a hoe. Like year round.
right.
But I feel like I get so much more out of it just having my own personal relationship
Yeah.
instead of, church works for some people. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't.
Right.
And heck, I feel like a pariah in recovery sometimes because I've gone through 3 sponsors and they're all drinking.
Right.
And they all had a lot of time when I got to them.
Yeah.
So I don't have a sponsor either. I've
Right.
just been
I mean,
doing my thing for like a year and a half.
yeah. I mean, I feel like it kind of comes in waves for me too.
Mhm.
Like I'll get super into the program for a little bit, and then I'll like find my recovery in like stuff like this or like relationships, and like. But I mean, we practice these principles in all our affairs, right? If we learn to like do the same things that the steps teach us in our life, like we don't necessarily like. I mean, yeah, we should be carrying the message to somebody, but like kind of this is what we're trying to do now, with this podcast. But yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of people I look up to, like a couple people that own treatment centers and stuff and own sober livings that like they're the same way. They kind of have in and out with the program, and like there's nothing wrong with that. It's all so subjective and personal, and only you can know like where you need to be and where you are, And
I think when you can get to a point when you need to run through the steps again is one of the firmest.
Vital.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
I know when I need to do a 4th step. I know that.
Oh, yeah.
I feel it. I'm like, God bless. I
I'm
need to write
resentful
about
right
this.
now.
Yes. And just feeling like a brat. Like, I need to write about this. And I've started following a bunch of people on Instagram that are big about their recovery and open about it. But they've strayed from the 12 steps. And not in a bad way, but just one girl I read earlier, she said, addiction is an experience. It's not an identity.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to everybody by not being honest about being an alcoholic, because if my drinking wasn't alcoholic, then it just gives other people an idea that, oh, well, mine's not either.
Right.
And
that's where I'm at with it too. I understand that, like, I'm not like drug addicted fiend anymore, but like I still identify as a drug addict because like I know that people need to hear that and can see like, hey, like, yeah, this dude did heroin for a while and shot coke and fucking did meth.
Look where he is.
And I'm doing okay, and like that's I think that's a big part of that. Like, but I definitely understand like your addiction doesn't have to be your identity.
No.
Like, you don't have to stay beaten down and
No.
feel guilty about the past. Like you have to get over it eventually.
Yeah, and she posted something about, labels create distance between people, and I can get that, how, me saying I'm an alcoholic terrifies a lot of people.
Right.
Because they don't know what it is. Like they had the misunderstanding that I had. But at the same time, especially with women, how much drinking is pushed nowadays. Like, wine for mommy wino, this and that. It's like you're almost pushed to, like, you can't have a child without alcohol anymore. And I'm seeing, you know, we go through these stagnant points in our recovery where we feel like, oh, I'm just white knuckling it.
Yeah. But
then I have someone reach out to me that I had no idea would ever have an issue. And they're like, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
I'm doing this, and this. This is going on. And how did you stop drinking?
Yep.
And it's a lot of my friends that have kids that are reaching out to me and seeing, like, I can't do this. She's getting to an age where she will remember me like this. And, you know, for a while I just thought, like, oh, I'm just the boring friend that doesn't drink anymore. And, you know, it feels good, but it's not like you want those people to message you. But I'm so glad that
you can be
being vocal about being an alcoholic on something as simple as Facebook has resonated with somebody. And I don't post a lot about it. I'll post on, like, my anniversaries or just something random. I don't want to every single week, you know, blah blah blah, sobriety, nee.
Somebody posted today, like, I have 15 months today, or like 17 months. I was like, why wouldn't you just wait until you're 18 months?
I know. I'm like, that's great.
Like, it's stupid that bothers me, but it's like, just like wait till you get your chip, like, then announce it. It's silly.
Wait till you get 18 months in one day.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
All right. Yeah.
But, you know, I try to not lead with it. Like, I try to not be like, hi, I'm Christina. I'm an alcoholic everywhere I go.
Right.
But if someone asks, I'm going to tell them.
Like, I used to disclose it, like, really regularly to people. And then, like, I've like, not everybody needs to know. Like, a cable guy came over here earlier to fix our internet. And, like, I got into, like, a really, like, good conversation with him about stuff. And, like, I started to tell him about me being a drug addict. And I was like, that doesn't add to the conversation at all. It's like I'm seeking validation sometimes when I tell people that, you know.
But see, catching yourself.
Yeah.
That's... I catch myself.
Yeah.
And
we're still like, we don't have drugs and alcohol in our
newborns.
system. Yeah, but we still have like I still need validation a lot.
Oh yeah.
Like, I seek it a
oh
lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, a fucking musician. Like, I'm like, please come to my show, watch me,
love me.
Yeah, literally. Pay attention to me. Like,
tell me I'm good.
Yeah, literally. And then I'm like, people are like, oh, you're so great. And I'm like,
no, whatever.
Stop and, like, keep going.
Like, I know.
Yeah.
Describe more.
So that was an hour and 10 minutes, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, any imparting wisdom on somebody, like, you know, what would you tell somebody who was a younger woman going through, like, you know, the same kind of deal, toxic relationships, substance abuse? Like, what's your advice to a person like that?
My advice is, that is the scariest thing that you'll ever face in your life, being in that moment, like, feeling like you can't leave. And not even abuse, but toxic relationships. I understand being at the end of that tunnel and you can't see past the blinders. But if you can pull yourself away from that, or just ask someone to help you get out, because you can't always leave on your own, you'll have the biggest blessings of your entire life. Whether you're struggling with addiction or not, toxic relationships, when you can get out of them, you finally meet yourself.
Yeah.
You meet the person that you've been trying to find forever, and you're looking for it in another person. And it's like you have this aha moment of, it was me that I was looking for that whole time.
Right.
And that's how it was for me. And I don't know, maybe it's like that for other people, but I feel like that's what I found at the end, was me.
Right.
And if I knew what I was going to get, I would have never started that relationship, but it would have never brought me here. You know, I could still be drinking, and I'm almost 30, and I'm so glad I'm not drinking anymore. You know, I'm glad I got a head start.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Well, you're starting school back up in January.
God bless.
You're doing good, man. I'm proud of you. It's awesome.
Yeah,
I appreciate you coming to do this.
So put me on the relapse watch. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, man. Well, that was...
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for doing it. Okay. Bye, y'all.